I've been making violins and cellos for about 10 years now. And I guess what got me started in it was I had an old violin in the house, never played it. And about 20 years ago, I started playing it, but first I had to get it up and running. And when I took it into the violin shop, I was told that it was worth several times what I thought it was worth, which is great. But then you kind of say, why? And I didn't get a good answer. Along the way, I met somebody else who was a bow maker. He said, well, maybe if you want to understand the why a little better, you should make a violin. So I ended up getting a DVD, and working through that, I took a course in Tucson, and that helped me finish off the first violin. And tonally, it turned out pretty good. Next thing that happened is that, I felt I wanted to make some more. I was at a conference of violin makers in Portland, Oregon, and I was waiting to catch a shuttle to the airport, and I ended up talking to a gentleman out on the steps, and I asked him, are you a maker? And he said, yes, I am. I said, where are you from? He said, a place outside of Calgary called Bragg Creek. And I said, oh, you must be Chris. And he said, yes, I am. And he asked me why I was there, and I told him I was just trying to gain some knowledge. And he said, well, I offer an apprenticeship program. So after that, the rest is history. I'd been working downtown for 25 years in various capacities. At the time, I was looking at transitioning to something else to carry me into my elderly years. And I wasn't in a hurry to do it, but meeting Chris kind of solidified that I wanted to take the apprenticeship right away. And as soon as I started the apprenticeship, I knew I wasn't going back to my downtown work. For me, if it's violins, I'm going to craft a handful a year. I take my time at it. A lot of it is the artistic side, selecting wood. There's a couple of people that also make that I spend some time with. And we compare notes and all that other stuff. In addition to violins, I make cellos. I'm currently working on my fourth cello, and that's probably the equivalent of 3 violins. So this year I'll be lucky if I make 3 instruments. In a lot of ways, making a violin and cello, it's the same steps, but it's a totally different feeling. In a way, it's size, but cellos are more your size, so you kind of have a different relationship with the materials, just for that reason. Whereas violins, because they're small and compact, you're kind of very focused on this little environment. And then I think the main difference is the result, which, for violin, it's this higher pitched, sweeter sounding tone, and then the cello has got a tone and a resonance and a vibration that just goes right through you. guess with a violin you can kind of just keep moving through the steps, whereas with a cello you have to pace yourself. I find that you know, you're starting with bigger blocks of wood and you're ending up with very thin pieces of wood, and removing it, I'm doing most of it by hand, and there's many hours involved. So if you want repetitive strain, then you just keep going steady. But if you don't want repetitive strain, like I said, you're going to have to pace yourself. I get my wood mainly from two different places. One is there's a supplier in Mittenwald in Germany. He cuts in Bosnia mainly, and he's got a degree in forestry, and he's also been through the violin making school. So it's a nice combination of skills. And then the spruce for the top I get about 6 hours drive from here, right? An hour west of Jasper in northern BC. And the fellow there is a player, and he's got a mill, and one of the main things he's involved in is supplying tone wood, and people have had great success when they enter competitions and winning with wood from his mill, right? So, and that's worked well for me, and it is really nice to buy locally. Making each instrument's an adventure and a gamble, right? You start off with lots of hopes and dreams. You've got a vision. I'm drawn a lot to the artistic side of it, you know, what it's going to look like in the end. You're shooting for the ultimate sound. Okay, so what is the ultimate sound? Well, that would be different for different people. For the same person, it's different on any given day, right? So what you really want is a good sound, and many violins have good sound, and it's different from each other. So this is the violin that started it all. It came into the house when I was a kid, or it was there before I arrived, I don't know. Not sure how it came into the family, but it's a Magini copy. The thing's built like a tank. The sound is not great, but it's the first thing I played on, right? And this is the one I went into the shop here in Calgary to get it up and running. And this is where I found out it was worth about 5 times what I thought it was worth. As far as an example of a more contemporary violin, this is one I made for Canada's 150-year celebration, right? So I used, where I normally get maple from Europe, I used maple that I got from Canada. And then of course the spruce from Canada. And I went heavy on the red because, you know, we have red in our flag and maple leaf kind of stuff. And the back is just a different looking back, and kind of did some extreme stuff with the paint. So it's just a little more outstanding than I normally do. It's got a rich warm tone, and yeah, you know, this is one of those violins, you see somebody playing it in a crowd and your eye is drawn to it. My concern is when I hear that people have gone and purchased violins for about the same price range as mine, and they never stopped here, right? And I kind of think in terms of value, they've probably done themselves a disservice. at the end of the day, you know, do you want something special or not? And it's really going to be probably the same money. It's just going to be special and tonally probably better. Usually I'm making, you know, an instrument every 2 or 3 months, and chances are it's going to be something worth trying, at least, before you go buy somewhere. So when I made the transition into becoming a violin maker, which was basically overnight, but a good ways through my working years, I gave up a lot, right? And there were reasons for doing that, because I did want to change, and I did want to express my creativity, but there was some angst about leaving the old life behind and just wondering how it's going to work out. For a while you feel like you're pretending you're a violin maker, right? No matter how much training you've got, how much experience, for a while you're just saying, well, this is really new and my confidence isn't really there and all that. And then one day you realize, I can't not make violins, right? Like this is what I have to do. And however good or not so good I am, this is what I am. When I'm not making violins or cellos, I'm a little bit anxious. So, for better or for worse, this is what I am, right? This is what I'll do. And it's great, usually.